G'day, Laura. It's great to have you on The Unspoken Truth, and we plugged in live for the second time today as a doubling down for the audience of The Unspoken Truth. How are you today?
Rob, I'm so pumped for today's session. It's going to be hot, it's going to be amazing, and it's just going to be a lot of fun. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm ready to rock it. It's going to be some good times here. Ladies and gentlemen, if this is your first time here at The Unspoken Truth, welcome. I'm your host, Robert Bruss, and I'm joined by my good mate, colleague, and business partner, Laura Viskovich, and she's dialing in from the northern part of Sydney. We should get together and do one of these face-to-face. I've got all the gear sitting in the office here. We might as well do that too.
I think it's going to happen, and if you want that to happen, put it in the comments below. Yes, live session together in Sydney, Australia.
Let's do it, baby. Let's do it. It's really good. Folks, you're going to see a little bit more of Laura in the weeks and months ahead because she's agreed to come and do some Unspoken Truth podcasts with us, and we're going to go and explore some different things. We've been busy talking about the war, talking about geopolitics and the collapse of the financial system and the corruption in the world, but we're going to talk about some things that affect us a little bit more as humans and individuals. Not such a high-level stuff, but a more low-level take on life and the unspoken truth behind a series of things that are going to help you go faster in your life. So I'm really excited to be doing that with Laura, and she's got some other guests that she's going to bring along, which is going to be a whole lot of fun in the process. So I'm really excited to be doing that with her. But meanwhile, while we're waiting for all of that, that's what's coming. On today's show, we're going to talk about why some people succeed and why some people fail, and what you can do as the viewer and the listener to ensure your success. So as I said, if this is your first time here, we cover a range of different topics. They're mostly cultural topics and geopolitics type stuff. So it's quite interesting and diverse, and I really love exploring different things. If you are unable to join us on a live session like we're live right now, you can always follow us over on Spotify. We pull the feed out of StreamYard here, and about an hour later it goes up into Spotify and it pulls through into Apple and where all good podcasting apps are. So whatever you use to listen to podcasts, look for The Unspoken Truth and you will see us over there as well. And don't forget to follow along on Twitter, Telegram and Rumble. If you want to come on over to the Telegram channel, just scroll down below and have a look in the description. We've got the links over there. Just be careful if you come and join the Telegram channel because it's full of R-rated content. Not naughty, nudie content, but war-related content. And I'm sharing a whole lot of stuff over there that I simply cannot do over here on YouTube. And a lot's going on Twitter these days as well. That's becoming the platform for everything. So I'm pretty excited that that's happening. We seem to get a few views over on Twitter, which is a lot of fun, actually. I'm surprised because it's not something I've used a lot, but over the last couple of weeks, I've kind of got into it, and it's been a really good source for me, a source of information. So let's get into today's show and share a little bit about why do some people succeed and why do others fail. Laura, let's get a little bit of background on you and share that with the audience. You've been in business for quite some time now. You've tasted a little bit of success. You've crashed and burned a couple of times. I've crashed and burned more times than I've been successful, but that's part of life, right? Why don't you share a little bit of your background?
Yeah, thanks, Rob. I'm so excited to talk to you guys and Rob and anyone who's listening and watching about this topic, because for me, starting in business, my earlier days, let's just go there for a second. When I was 5, I was so shy, Rob. Can you believe it? Looking at me now,
I can't believe it.
No, I was petrifiedly shy. Like, the teacher would ask me questions, stand up and answer this, and I would literally shut down in class. They even thought that I had learning difficulties. They put me into a special education class for a second there. And my mum was like, no. She pulled me out of that school, put me into a brand new school the next year, started kindergarten all over again, and I thrived. And why, Rob? It was because my teacher was supportive and positive and realized that I was just shy, and put me into acting class. And look at me now, 39 years old. Can you believe it? Confident, speaking, building businesses. And yes, I've failed along the way, but what do you think, Rob? Like, you have to fail in order to learn the lessons, in order to grow and then find success. What do you think on that?
I think that's one of the fundamental failings of modern society is that we celebrate everybody else's success. I could crack out my Instagram right now and I'll scroll for like 30 seconds and I'll find some guy with the most ripped six-pack on the face of planet Earth, and I'll find some woman in a bikini that looks like a a cover of a swimsuit magazine or something like that, and we celebrate their success and go, wow, that looks awesome, that's so cool, I wish I had a six-pack like that, or I wish I could look like that, or I wish I could do those things. But we forget that you can be that as well. And part of the reason that people don't go and do that is because they're so worried that they're going to come up short. But it's that old, really super ultra cheesy cliche that if you shoot for the moon or you aim for the stars and you land on the moon, that's a really good result. So if you're willing to give things a go and you're just willing to try things, you will find that it's actually easier than what you think. I made a giant mistake in my life, Laura, a giant mistake, and I'll share that here with the audience. So when I was growing up as a young fellow, I wasn't a shy kid at all, and that I can remember at least. My dad worked for Qantas, and everything was always about aeroplanes and stuff like that, and I was just obsessed with aeroplanes. My dad was a private pilot. I used to go flying with him, and we used to go and he used to take me to work in the school holidays, and I loved everything about aeroplanes, and I especially loved everything about military airplanes. The parents took me to an air show when I was a young kid. Back in the day at Schofield's Airport, if anyone's from Sydney watching that, there used to be an airport there, can you believe it? And I remember the first time, because I was thinking about it, what was the first time that I ever saw a fighter jet, and it was an F-111. And I was just like awe-inspired by that, and it's just something about the noise, the whole event and everything. And from that, must have been from that moment on, all I ever wanted to do was be a pilot. And when I grew up, I became a pilot, but I always wanted to be an Air Force pilot. And for one reason or another, I just never tried. And when I look back, the reason that I never tried, the reason I didn't do that is simply because I was afraid to fail. And I had already been in the military. I was in the Navy and I was in the Army, and I had a pretty successful career, and I was good at my job and everything was going really well. But what I really wanted was that. But I never did it because I never thought that I would be good enough to do it. But I never knew whether or not I was good enough to do it because I never tried. And that's, if you have one regret in life that you could pick, that would be one of the biggest ones, because that's a career one, right? And that's something that you end up doing for 5 or 10 years of your life. It ends up being a large part of your life if you're successful at something like that. And for me, I do have a regret for not giving that a go. And that's simply because I was worried that I was going to fail at it. But when I left the military, I was determined not to make those same mistakes. And whenever opportunities came in front of me, I just had a crack at them. And the consequence of failing in the military, attempting to do something like that was nothing. It just meant that you didn't get the job. But the consequence of failing as an entrepreneur and as a business owner has been huge for me. I've lost a lot of money. I've made a lot of mistakes. I've lost a lot of friends, and things have gone wrong consistently for me over a long period of time. And the failures are just as often as the successes. And you can do everything you can from a risk management perspective to dial that back and to slow that down and to stop that from happening. But the reality is you can't prevent life from happening to you, and you're not always able to predict everything that happens. I don't know. What about you? Have you had a similar experience? Or?
I have, but let's go to that for a second. It's so funny. We are, as humans, all afraid to fail, right? But let's look at the word failure. Like, what is it? Like, if you don't stop, you can never fail. So if you have a vision of something and you just dive in and figure it out, and as you go along, you just keep on, if you fall over like a little baby, they're babies and their little legs, and they're not 6 months yet, and maybe they're turning a year. I don't know. I haven't had a kid. I don't know the timeline. But as a baby, they're trying to walk, and then they fall over, they stumble, they get back up, they keep on walking, and eventually they learn how to walk. So why don't we, as adults, tap into our childlike body and behavior, and as we go along, whatever we're doing, if we fall over, we just dust ourselves off, learn the lesson, and keep on moving forward. And if you have that mindset and that philosophy, you realize you can never fail. And every time that there's something bad happen or something doesn't happen right, you get excited about it, because the excitement is because in that moment you're like, yes, I learned something, now I'm going to do it better next time, instead of sitting down and having that moment like put you back and put you on the couch back here, and you're like, that didn't work well, so I'm now going to stop and go the other way. It's that mentality of stopping is what's creating the failure. But if you don't ever stop and you keep on learning from the lessons, that, my friends, is what successful people do. And you can apply this not just to business, whatever, but personal relationships too. Like, let's say you've gone through a divorce, right? And many people go through divorces and it like completely puts them on their butt. Right, Rob? They get sat on their butt for a minute and they're like, oh my gosh, this is the worst thing that could ever happen to me. And they're just stopped, whatever. And everyone's like, you need to go to court. You need to do this. You need to fight, right? And it takes 5 years out of your life and it's just a depressing whole thing. But it doesn't have to be that way. At the end of a relationship, it doesn't have to be the worst thing. You can learn from the things and then you just move forward. And you do hear what I'm saying? Like, don't think
totally.
of it like stop,
Totally.
Think of it as a lesson.
One of the things that I learned when I left the military, me and two of my mates were in the army with, so three of us, we all decided to get out at the same time. We're kind of like, we've had enough, it's time to leave, it's time to move on. And I was ready to go as well. And we started a business together. We had an electrical contracting company that we started together. And there was some legislation that New South Wales government had passed that said that anything that was in a workplace needed to be tested and tagged. And so what we did was we exploited that little loophole that was there, that you didn't need to have an electrical license or even be an electrician to do it. But we could call ourselves a contracting company because that's what it was. And we went out there and so Paul and Shane got out first and they tried to establish the business. And then I got out literally, I think it was about probably 2 or 3 months later. And they were living in Coogee at the time and making no headway at all, zero. And I got out and I was like, oh my God, I left a well-paying job. Everything's provided for. Now I've got a missus who hasn't got a job back here in Sydney and I've got 2 kids. I have to sort this out. And what we did is we went and found a sales company in North Sydney who then handled all the sales, and then we got on our feet and we started actually getting really busy and started executing, and it went really well. And there was a series of things that we tried there early on. So you got to remember, I was in the military for 10 years and I didn't know anything about business. I didn't know anything about customer service, customer relations or anything. What I knew how to do was to be on time and do what I said I was going to do. And I knew how to actually manage people. I was pretty good at doing that, but I didn't know how to build a business or anything like that. So we tried a lot of things. We tried, and the way I describe it is we failed forward. And we're like, okay, well, how are we going to solve this problem? And I don't know. And problems that we had to solve were, well, we need another 4 people for this job. And so how can we go to a labour hire company and find 4 people that can do this job? How do we circumvent all of the rules and the laws and the loopholes? What can we do? And the answer is we just figured it out. And some of the things that we tried just didn't work. But because it was necessary to get the job done and to actually get paid, like there was a consequence to not solving the problem, we were willing to try anything. And, we're not breaking the law or doing anything illegal or moral or anything like that, but we'll try anything and try as hard as we could. And that included working 19 hours a day. That included hiring, more people than we can actually fit on the payroll and then figuring it out. And it's just a matter of failing forward into those things. And when I look back on those times, I look back fondly, but also cringingly going, how did you get it so wrong, man? Jeez.
Yeah.
And the fella that was in the office with us, so his name was Nick. So we hired this lady, her name was Chris, and she was responsible when, you probably remember back in the early 2000s, well no, I think it was in the late 90s, when Optus first came to Australia. So for the people that are watching internationally, Australia only had one telecommunications company called, at the time, it was called Telecom, and then they rebranded to Telstra, and then they deregulated the market, and then Optus came in. So Optus is a Singaporean company, huge conglomerate, and she actually was the lead salesperson for Optus. So they came to Australia and said, we need some telemarketers to go and call all of the unhappy telecom customers and bring them over to Optus. And they had like 6 floors of a building in North Sydney, and their wages bill was like $2 million a week. It was an incredible operation, and she was like the lead of all that, this massive telemarketing operation. And she was the woman who we hired. And she was like, come on over here, boys. I'll sort you out. I'll look after you. I've got 4 girls in the office here. They'll make all the calls. They'll sort it all out. And as soon as we showed the product to her, because the New South Wales government was waving a stick, it made it very easy for her to actually to sell. But her husband, his name was Nick, and he was a paratrooper in Vietnam in the US Army, but he was an Aussie. Yeah, so I think his parents or someone worked in America and he grew up in America, but he was an Australian and he joined the American Army. He was in the Vietnam and he's like, there's 3 Army guys. And he used to sit in his little corner, in the corner office, in the corner of this North Sydney office with a view of Sydney Harbour. And he'd sit over there on his computer and he'd muck around there till about 11 o'clock in the morning and he'd disappear. And one day he pulled us all over, all 3 of us, and he goes, boys, you're doing it all wrong. We're like, doing what wrong? And he goes, the business, you got it all wrong. And we're like, well, how do we do it then? All 3 of us are like, you've got a better idea? Show us. We want to know, right? So without realizing, he became the mentor. And without realizing who he was, it was only probably maybe 6 months after meeting the guy, but he was the CEO of the second biggest pharmaceutical company in Europe. And he was the man. You know, he was responsible for managing, I think it was something like 30,000 people in this company. It was like massive, right? He sat at the top of it and flying around in jets and all the things that pharmaceutical companies do and high-powered CEOs do. But then he's kind of looking at us trying to make our way in the world and just get started. And he was really helpful. But we tried a lot of things. And I remember a couple of times saying to Paul and Shane, hey, boys, instead of like just kind of shooting from the hip and having a go at this, why don't we go and ask Nick? And it was like, yeah, we go over and go, hey, man, this is what we're thinking of doing. What do you think? He'd be like, really? Is that what you were about to do? Really? How about you do this instead? And we're like, oh, that's so obvious. But, you know, when you've got somebody there to help you and show you the way, failing doesn't seem so bad. And even if you fail publicly in front of people as well, it's like not a big deal. It's really not a big deal. And I think that's part of the mindset as well. That's the difference.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey guys, if you are watching on YouTube or Facebook, tell us where you're tuning in below. I really want to know. And if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, please do. It really help us. But hey, Rob, I've been in business now like 12 years. It's coming into my 12th year. And I've been on a personal development journey, I guess, for about 8. And what I've done is I've read a lot of books. I've listened to a lot of podcasts, YouTube, the whole thing. And I've been obsessed with like looking at successful people and what makes it different to the rest of us, you know? And, you know, when I started first in my own business, I didn't have my own business degree or anything. But everyone was saying, hey, hi, Pat Silver. Oh, you're tuning in from Texas. Thanks so much for tuning in. You're a gorgeous pageant queen. Shout out to you. Yeah, so I was told by many people, don't start your own business. You have to do 5 years of education to learn how to be a business person, blah, blah, blah. And literally, I realized, what did I need in order to do my business? I needed equipment. I needed you know, access to a tax agent and all the things that you need. And the minute that I had my website, I launched it. Within 2 weeks, I started getting bookings, and 12 years later, I'm still in business for myself and I haven't looked back. You know, and when I was a child, you know, same thing. I wanted to become an actress. And they were like, oh, well, don't quit your day job. Like, this was in my young teenage years, right? Well, don't do this because that will happen bad. And so I just say to anyone who's wanting to do anything out there, don't listen to the other people. Don't listen to the naysayers, because at the end of the day, you know what lights you up from the inside. You know what gets you excited. So just go out into the world, do the things that you really truthfully want to do and excites you. And if you stumble, it's okay. Just lift yourself up and go forward. And so the idea, Rob, of what makes successful people and different to the unsuccessful people is at the core of it. Let's talk about that for a second, because that fascinates me. I'm like, okay, so what is at the core of it? Okay, confidence. Okay, usually successful people are super confident, and you're like, okay, well, what is even deeper than that? And I actually have come to decide from looking at many successful people and reading their bios and stuff, at the core of it, it really is mindset. And so people can work on their mindset on a daily basis, and you can set yourself up for success. And it all starts here in the mind. And that can be a workable thing. But as Rob mentioned previously in your story, you really do have to have access to the knowledge in order to work on your mindset, because someone's sitting here in the audience listening to us and going, okay, well, mindset. Okay, but what is that, And so that's when listening to great people like Mind Valley, Vision McConaughey has an amazing academy. I have an academy that shares great tips and tricks and information and knowledge to help you set up with mindset. And I'm sure listening to Rob's awesome unspoken truth will also help you with ideas around mindset as well, if you listen between the lines. So what do you think about that? Like, I'd love to hear your idea about what's at the core of successful people and the difference.
You're 100% right. I kicked off my media journey, if you like, about 5 or 6 years ago now. So it was when I turned 40. So I'm 46 now. So I've been doing this podcasting thing for 6 years. And I started off by, it was my missus. She said to me, "Hey, you should do this course. Do this podcasting course." And I was like, "I don't need to do a course." Anyway, I watched the guy and I thought, it's pretty good. I should do that course. It's really good. And that sort of began my journey. And one of the very first things that they did on that course was said, you need to go onto Facebook, do a Facebook Live, and they hold you accountable to all this stuff, right? Do a Facebook Live and tell the world that you're about to start a podcast. And I was like, I'm not doing that. Get lost, mate. No way I'm not doing that. They're like, what are you trying to do? Like, I don't need to tell people that I'm doing this. And I'm like, hang on a minute.
Tell me, Rob, why did you say I'm not doing that? Why?
My ego, baby. My ego is just way overinflated, way too big, and just,
You were too cool for Facebook Live. Is that what it was? Like, you just was like, so tell me, why?
Too cool for everybody, baby. Just like, why would I do that? And I think part of it was mostly to do with, why would anyone care? And when I realized that I was worrying about what other people were thinking.
Yes.
And then I had a revelation that I actually didn't care about what other people were thinking. And then I was like, hey, it's funny though, like the defense mechanisms you have as a human being, the first thing that I had to do on this course was just go to Facebook Live and tell the world I was going to do that. And my very first instinct was to say, nah, not doing that.
Yeah. And the wall goes up.
It did. And I leant back as well, like you said, like you do that physical action. But eventually I was like, hang on a minute, I've got to get my ego out of the way. I'll do it. And when I did it, there was about 20 comments of people saying, awesome, can't wait. And that really encouraged me.
Let's just slow down a bit, Rob, because this story is brilliant. And for the viewers listening, tell us in the comments what you hear as well as we go along this unnutting of Rob's story. So basically, they say, go share the world that you're doing this, and instantly, boom, doesn't really matter why, boom, you had a wall that goes up, and you're like, nah, not doing it. Okay. Oh, hey, Sini, how you doing? Okay, we'll get to that comment in just a sec. But you said, no, not doing it, no. But because you're a leader and because you're already got a successful mindset, you probably do a little bit of like meditation, exercise in the day. You probably do work on your mindset and all that to grow your mind, to grow your life, all that good stuff, because you're in business. I get it. We're more in tune with personal development when you're in business. So you're already there, but you still had a wall that went up. But it was your drive that got you through to make you realize, hang on, I'm being silly. What is this? What's all this about? And it was your drive that got you through, and probably your mentorship on the side, right? I just want to know, why is it that you got over that hurdle? Because people who are listening right now, maybe there's people who haven't been able to get over a hurdle. What is it that successful people, how do they get over that hurdle? And maybe, what makes the difference between the hurdle and the non-hurdle?
It's a good question, and it's a great discussion point. And the reason for that, I can sum it up, right? So I've done more than 800 interviews now of all sorts of people, everything from Olympic athletes to world champions to billionaires and everything else in between, right? And I've talked about topics from veterans to war to finance to politics, everything you can think of, right? So I've had a diverse range of things. And what I've seen, one of the common traits amongst all of that, and the way that I describe it is, what you're saying is, it's the start that stops most people. So your experience was very similar as well when you said, I want to start a business, and everyone's like, no, you got to go and do a degree and you have to blah, blah, blah. And you're like, and if you listened to that, if you heard that and you went, yeah, that's true, I should do that, it would have stopped you. And so my ego got in the way of, I'm not doing a Facebook Live, but then I realized that's the first step to this process, and it's the start that stops most people. Don't make that mistake, push through it and keep going. And I did it kind of in spite of myself, And as I got a little bit of momentum behind that, that actually really helped me to keep moving forward as well. I want to share a little screen grab here with you that I created in my masterclass, which I think works really well, and it kind of explains the difference between mindset, since we're talking about mindset, right? So after all of the podcasts that I did, I created a course called Master Your Mind and Go All In, and it has 8 modules, and it's about developing you're developing a system to help you to achieve anything. And the first thing is to take your mindset from being average to being elite. And on the left-hand side in white is what people do. They feel sorry. People that are average with an average mindset feel sorry for themselves. But people with an elite mindset are so focused on others that they don't have time to feel sorry for themselves. So this is just a difference in behavior, right? People with an average mindset see confidence as a feeling. People with an elite mindset know that confidence is an action. People with an average mindset make an excuse, and with an elite mindset make it happen, and so on. And it goes on and on and on. And there's like literally probably 100 more that I could put onto that little slide there. But that's kind of the gist of what I've learned over all of this time. And it's definitely helped me to stay focused onto the really hard things that I have to do. So just yesterday, I'll give you a real world example. Yesterday, I sat down in the barber's chair, and the guy cut my hair. His name's Khalid, and I know Khalid for a couple of years now. He's a really good dude. We always talk about different things all the time, and he's had this business for a little while that's not going so well for him, and he developed an app, and the app is called OctoPay. And what it is, it's kind of like so if you think of a buy now, pay later, like an Afterpay or a Zip Pay or something like that, it has that feature in it, but that's not what this is. The idea is that it takes small micro amounts of money every day on a daily basis and puts them towards your goal. So if you say that, hey, I want to go on a holiday and I want to go and see the pyramids in Egypt, and you look at Flight Centre and it says that holiday is going to cost you $4,000, the app does the calculation and says you need to move $4.65 every day across over like this. What's $4? You're going to miss $4 every day? No. And the app does it automatically for you, and it helps you to save up for the holiday. And you say how much you want to spend each day. What do you want to spend? I've got car rego coming up. It's $1,000, and I do that 3 months before, and I put a couple of bucks aside like that, so I'm able to cover off everything like that. So it's really about budgeting, and it's about putting things together. And he's got this really great idea, and he's so far down the track. He's got a prototype of it, but he can't get it across the line. He doesn't know what to do to get it across the line. And every time I ask him 1,000 questions, like, what are you doing, man? How come it's not working? How come you haven't raised VC? How come you're not talking to Commonwealth Bank or Stripe or whoever? And I ask him 1,000 questions like that, and he's like, I don't know how to do any of that. So he asked me, he goes, I'll give you 50% if you help me. And then I say to myself, do I really want to have that headache? I got heaps of shit going on, man. Do I want that headache? Do I want to be part of that? And I thought to myself, here I am again, and there's a fork in the road, and I'm at the same place as I am with that podcasting course, where you have to go and do a Facebook Live and tell the world you're going to launch a podcast. So I'm at the position now where I'll give you 50%. That's a pretty attractive offer. The thing might be worth $50 million. It might be worth nothing. It might be worth 500 hours of my time and amount to nothing, or it might be worth 50 hours of my time and amount to $10 million. I don't know. The point is, what do I have to do to find out? I have to take a risk. Yeah. But what am I risking? What am I risking? I'm not risking any money. I'm not risking any intellectual property, because it's all his. It's all his money. It's all his thing. And he said two words that were just music to my ears: sweat equity. So he's not asking me for money. He's asking me for my IP, and he's asking me for my network and my connections and all of those things.
Yeah.
So now I'm faced with a choice. What is it that I'm actually going to do? So when I think of those things, I think, well, what am I worried about? Actually, there's only one thing I'm worried about: failing. But if I put that aside and I say to myself, what if it worked? Instead of, what if it failed? Wouldn't that be cool?
Yes. Great.
So I'm playing this within my mind. And yeah, Susie wasn't here yesterday. She's like at the office in Parramatta. And so I'm here by myself going, should I, shouldn't I, should I? There's a devil and there's an angel. And then I'm like, I can't think of anything else. I'm like, I can't concentrate on anything. And he sends me the documents. I looked at it. I'm like, wow, that looks really good. And I'm like getting in. It's look really good. And I'm like, what do I do? Am I in or am I out? Well, not what if it failed. What if it worked? My glass is half full, it's not half empty. And I think maybe that's the difference in mindset there as well, because I'm looking at
100%.
at adversity. You know, when I put that slide back up on the screen, I don't see, you know, I don't wear my emotions on my sleeve. Yeah, I don't see failure as final. I focus on what I can control, yeah? And I see adversity as an opportunity, not something to actually hold me back. That's kind of the difference there.
Yeah, mindset's huge, and positivity, absolutely. And asking the questions. I'm so glad you said that, Rob, because the minute that I started listening to a lot of sort of leaders in the, let's call it, it's not spirituality, but it's more like holistic approach, right, to
Yep.
leadership. And I heard this idea by Vision Laconichet in Mind Valley, and it just was a game changer. You know how everyone's like, manifest and do the I am affirmations. I am affirmations, for someone who doesn't know what that is like a positive, repetitive thing, which is great, and it can make you feel good and elevate your spirit. But what if like you're in this rut and you keep on doing your positive affirmations and nothing's happening? Well, what if we just change those affirmation ideas to, instead of just continuously doing affirmations to manifest your future, why don't we just change that into a question to the universe or God or whatever the word is for you? Let's not get political here, okay? But what if you start asking the questions to the universe and say, how did I become a successful worldwide speaker? Now, maybe you're not a worldwide speaker, but maybe you want to get there. Why don't we now ask the question like it's already happened to how did I achieve this? I think I need to repeat that one more time. So let's say you have a goal to be a worldwide speaker. Okay, so this is over here and you're not there yet. But what if we ask a question like it's already begun to the universe? How did I become a worldwide speaker? Now, why don't we ask that every morning for the next week? Do you know what's going to happen? Is things will start coming to you, ideas, opportunities, and things will start coming to your world. An email will come out into your world. Or you watch a YouTube channel and the chick's just talking about how she became a worldwide speaker. Things will start coming to you because, if you want to look at it, this is not woo-woo stuff, guys. We are vibrational beings. Everything is a frequency in this world. You have a mobile phone and it sends out a signal to a tower, and then the text message is sent and then sent to someone else. Right? Our body is actually a vibration. It's a frequency. And so we can bring things towards us. So why don't we now start using our body to its full capacity and start asking better questions? Because the minute you start, how did I achieve this? Like it's already happened, even though it hasn't, it doesn't matter. Then in the next coming weeks, the knowledge and the information will start flowing to you. And this is not something I just made up. It was brought to me by a worldwide leader, the top founder of Mind Valley. So it does work. I've started doing it. I shared it with my network, and 5 people already reached out to me and said, Laura, it works. This is what happened to my life, blah, blah, blah. So if you want to start doing that, put it in the comments below in the next week. If something happens magically amazing to you, it's not magic and amazing. It's just how our human condition is working. So questions is a huge thing that leaders do in order to attract opportunities and knowledge and information into their life. Better questions. How did I achieve blah? What do you think, Rob?
I think that when I hear you say that, I go, yep. And whenever you hear the truth, it's impossible to refute. And hand in hand with what you're talking about ancient wisdom. So This is how people have done it for eons. There's nothing new under the sun. There is no new idea or new invention. There's nothing new. There's just maybe slightly different ways of doing things and maybe slightly newer ways of doing the same things. And what you're hearing is ancient wisdom from generations and eons of human civilization. And I like to ask myself whenever I'm faced with something like that. I was doing some mathematics the other day because I'm a bit of an Excel geek and a bit of a nerd when it comes to all that. I think you know that about me, right? And I was looking at this stupid woke garbage, and I was seeing these people, and it was really like grinding my gears. And so the math that I did was to say, how many people are in your family lineage for the last 500 years? And when you do the math and you look back 13 generations in your family lineage, bear with me, you'll see where I'm going here in a sec. There's about 4,100 people in your direct line, but in your indirect line, there's about 8,200 people in your indirect line. So you've got 2 grandparents, they had 2 4 grandparents, and 8 and 16 and so on and so on. You go back 13 generations, there's 8,000 people that are in your indirect line. And if your whole existence has amounted to you here today, right now, as you're watching and listening to this, there's 8,000 people standing behind you that existed before you to bring you here. It's a freaking miracle that you're here, and you can't get over your ego to put a Facebook Live up, or you can't get over your ego because you're worried about failing forward, or you're not willing to give something a go, like, hey, how did I become that global speaker? How did I've already done that. If you see those things like they're already finished, then the universe and the world will line up for you and synchronicity will line up for you to bring you the things that you need to achieve the things that you've already achieved. There's nothing new under the sun. And there's a billion different realities right now. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Sorry, I just got a thing. I had to say this. Tesla used to wake up, only sleep 4 hours a night, by the way, and would do, I guess he would ask questions, but his ideas came to him in downloads of visions and images in his mind. And that's how we have all of his energy and all of his stuff that he created aeons ago. So, the most successful people realize how the brain and the body is condition works. And the younger that we can start learning about our body and how human condition actually is, then people from a young age can now start living in super success, and we can get rid of poverty. It's like a whole thing. Like, maybe we should do another thing on poverty mindset. Who knows?
I can prove to you in about 1 minute exactly what you're saying is 100% true. Please. Particularly about vibration, right?
Let's go. 1, 2, 3.
You ready?
Boom. Yes.
So when you think of something, like you're a smart woman, you've lived in the world 39 years, you've had all sorts of life experiences. If I ask you to recall something, where do you recall it from? Your brain.
In the brain?
Where?
Good question.
I don't believe it's in your brain, because if I put you in an MRI scanner and I show you pictures in an MRI scanner, the only thing that they can show you is what part of your brain lights up. And then some neuroscientist will rub his chin and go, well, I showed her pictures of tropical islands, and that part of her brain lit up, so that's the part responsible for liking tropical islands. Or they'll come up with some bullshit hypothesis to say actually what it is. But I don't believe that that's actually the case. Your brain is not where everything is stored. Your brain is the receiver. Everything is stored outside in the universe. And when you're trying to recall a memory, all you're doing is focusing the receiver to that frequency where that memory is in the universe, because the energy never dies. And everything that you do, my voice is energy through this microphone being amplified through my equipment here through the internet like that. It's a freaking miracle. But the miracle is knowledge in the universe as well, because there's universal knowledge that we have in the universe as well. Mathematics is an example of universal knowledge. It doesn't matter if you're from an ancient civilization 500,000 years ago, you live on another planet in another solar system, or you're here on planet Earth. 1 + 1 is 2. There's no getting away from it. Mathematics is always the same. And I believe that your brain is a receiver of the infinite knowledge in the universe, and the singularity, the single consciousness of the universe has all of the knowledge of all of humanity and all of everything in existence right now. And all you've got to do is tune your receiver to the right frequency to receive what it is that you need. And to your point, if you're saying, hey, universe, how did I actually become that global worldwide speaker? All you're doing is aligning yourself with the future reality of you. There is no such thing as time. Time is a construct of humans. We only have the present now. And the part of the problem that we have with mindset around elite mindset and average mindset and people not being able to be successful is half of their life they're worried about what they did and what they said and the mistakes they made, and now they're worried about the future and they forget to live in the moment and the here and now. What you've got to do is you've got to live to your highest ideals, I believe, to your highest ideals, and do the things that bring you the most joy. But the key is don't attach anything to an outcome. So you do these things with future. You do these things without expectation of outcome. So doing this podcast because I want to have a conversation with you. I want to go live. I want to build my channel. I want to get more subscribers. I'm doing it for that. But I'm not, if nothing happens, I don't care. And I'm not tied to the outcome.
The moment.
Yes.
Now.
That's key.
So, okay. Have you finished that thought? Because I gotta share this. Are you okay, Rob? I see how excited I get. If you love the excitement, put yes in the comments below. And Sini, thank you so much for that comment. I really appreciate you sharing your thoughts there. But okay, so a friend of mine recently, in the last 6 months, I had to reset my life. Okay, if you know me personally, you know it. We're not going to get into it, but it's a true fact. I had to completely reset where I was living, my whole location, my whole life, reset in a minute. Now, most people would go through that and say, oh, can't handle it. You know, get on the couch, eat chocolate, and then they're done for the next 5 years, right? But what I did was I gave myself some time. I reset, got myself healthy, happy, just gave myself a month to just let it go, shake it off, get healthy, happy, healthy, happy, healthy, happy. Went to walking in the morning, in the afternoon, eating healthy, being around friends, walking around the shops if I wanted to, all the things that made me happy on the inside. Then I started building. And then 6 months later, I started a whole new business. Second business is now loading.
The pageant stuff,
Yes, pageant stuff. Yes, I own the international pageant. The first business is keeps on going. But what I mean is my whole life reset and recharged. And I have so much to thank for. I met Rob, started a YouTube channel, started a community to inspire greatness within. And my friend said to me, Laura, oh, and by the way, I launched a book in the process too. I launched a book.
This is all in the downtime of the collapse of personal life.
Reset. Yeah.
You're moving through the rubble of your personal life going, oh, I might do that. Yeah, fuck it, I'll keep that too. I'll have that one.
Become an author, do a new YouTube channel, launch a new community and help other people become leaders through the pageant. Yes, I did all that. And my friend said to me, because it's so funny, when you start doing things that you love and enjoy, you don't realize really in the moment how much you're achieving until your friend says this to you. Said, Laura, you have the ability to turn nothing into something, and that is a talent. And I just went, oh yeah, you're right. Because most normal people will write off the next 5 years of their life and blame something or someone or whatever. But I just went, you know what? Let's get healthy and happy and let's start doing things that I love. And in the process, I launched the Australian International Pageant because I'm so passionate about helping other people to become leaders. I'm now working on my next 12-month tour as a public speaker, launched a community because I can help people with mindset and the whole thing. But why I really wanted to share this to you is you can create the life that you want. You can, if you can dream it, you can do it. And the only thing that's stopping the successful people to the unsuccessful people is mindset and positivity. And the minute you can master your positivity mindset and be around successful people that have gone ahead of you and learn, take the knowledge from them, that's when you're setting yourself up for success. And you can never fail because, as we've just mentioned in this beautiful podcast or YouTube channel, whatever, the live show that you've just witnessed today, that you can't fail. Fear of failing. Someone said this to me once. It was on a YouTube channel a long time ago and it stuck with me. Fear, the acronym for fear is fake energy appearing real. It doesn't exist. Fear is fake energy appearing real. Don't have the fear of failure, because we're talking about failure. Don't have the fear because it doesn't exist. All you need to be is positive, be around positive people, get your mind right. If you're depressed, it's the mind. It's the mind. We need to strengthen our mind and look to the successful people who've gone ahead of you, ask better questions, and you can live the dream life that you were born to live, my friends. Boom! Yes, yep. Rob, what do you think?
Yeah, but yeah, that's, I second that for sure. The way that I kind of describe it is if you've got the right mindset, you'll see adversity as opportunity. And everything is about perspective. I've learned a thing or two about fear in my life. just physical engagement in the military. Skydiving teaches you how to get your emotions under control. And there's a difference between when you're not doing something physically dangerous like that, just in your life when you feel fear, it's important to recognize the difference between being scared and being fearful. There's a very big difference, and I think in modern society it's very rare, very, 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 very rare that you actually feel fear. Because your life is not in danger. I've felt fear a couple of times when I'm out the front here in Cronulla and I'm out spearfishing, and you go, "What was that?"
Oh, no thanks. I'm out.
What was that? I didn't actually see anything, but I saw something in my periphery, and I'm like questioning myself. I've been out here on my paddleboard, paddling along, and been between the two headlands in the middle of Bait Bay, paddling along, look down and go, "That's a penguin."
Oh my!
There's a fairy penguin there. Am I actually seeing that? Am I? What's going on here, right? And there's a very big difference between being scared and being fearful. I had an encounter with a great white shark just off Bundina, just off Gibbon Point, and I was paddling along, and I kind of looked up and I saw this big fin, and his tail was sticking out of the water, and he's coming straight for me. And I got a big paddleboard, right? It's like 14 foot, and my paddleboard felt suddenly like a paddle pop stick, and all of a sudden I was not scared. I was reaching for my GoPro in my pocket, and I couldn't get it out of my pocket. And I thought, you know what, don't worry about it. Don't have to take a photo. You don't have to put it on social media. Just look. And as I looked, this shark went past me. I was like, wow, that's like the most beautiful thing in the whole ocean, right? This big shark. It was bigger than my paddleboard. And I knew it was a white pointer because it was on its side, and I could see his white underbelly. And it kind of circled around me, came back, and it circled around me again, and then he just like swam off. And I was like, that was like so cool. That was like really cool.
Well, I would think, oh my goodness, I'm out of here. But I think I just realized Rob needs to do a whole episode on what's under the ocean. The unspoken
and what to be scared of and what to be fearful of. Yes.
If you want to see that show, put it in the comments, guys. Put it in the comments.
The spearfishing one is fear, because I'm like, what was that? And I can't control it. The white pointer swimming towards me is scared. I'm not really scared because I'm standing here and I've got a big paddle in my hand. If the thing came for me, I'd just smack it with a paddle, right, and it'll swim away. Great white sharks don't attack people. It'd be unlucky if it bumped my board or knocked me off or something like that. And even if it did, I'd just climb straight back on the board. I was scared, but I'm not fearful. And I know when I got back into skydiving last year, I was actually really, really scared, properly scared. But I didn't have fear. And in life, fear is the most debilitating thing that we can actually feel as a human being. And the government uses fear against you all the time. Yeah. They make you scared of terrorists. They make you scared of virus. They make you scared of the economy. And the news media will manipulate you into compliance. And they'll get you so scared that you get yourself tied up into a pretzel that you're fearful for your life if you don't comply with what it is that they're doing, because their number one job is to keep you safe. But it's all just bullshit.
Why do you think I don't watch the TV? I don't have a TV. If I want to watch a movie, I watch it. I know you're like, no, Laura, you can't do it. Rob is all about the news. He's watching it. He's talking about it.
That's the unspoken truth, baby. That's what it is.
Yes, and I am the opposite. I'm like, turn that thing off. It's negative. I'm so focused on creating my businesses and bringing service to the world and helping and inspiring people that I'm like, I don't have time for the negative stuff. But yes, I understand. You need to be up to date. And do you know what, Rob? Do you know what I say to those people? I'm like, you know what? If something really bad is happening in the world, I'm going to hear about it.
I'll tell you. I'll let you know. Hey, did you see that happening?
Right. I don't need to spend time on the TV because I'll hear about it through other sources.
Absolutely. That's it. Ladies and gentlemen, if this is... Yeah, go ahead.
So sorry, I totally talked over you, but I'm excited today. Is everyone excited? Give us the love in the comments below. But I do wanted to point out to Sini, who did make a comment, and I thank you for that. She says, true, very basic knowledge in common sense. They are focused, determined, and constant, highly creative, visionary, work hard and confident, healthy, self-esteem, self-motivated, and never scared to dare. I like
that's the most important one, the end one.
Yeah. Never be scared to dare. I like it.
They're all the traits of somebody with an elite mindset, right? That's the difference between somebody who fails and somebody who tries and fails and somebody who just doesn't try. And to your point, Laura, I think you summed it up really nicely by saying that you can never fail if you stop trying. The minute you stop, that's when you fail. That's actually
That
when
drive,
that happens.
baby.
There it is.
People are scared of my drive sometimes. People who are 9 to 5, they're like, oh, Laura's got an idea. Watch out. And then
Slow down,
they're like, oh, she actually did it.
Just dial it back. Ladies and gentlemen, if this is your first time here at The Unspoken Truth, thank you for joining us here on the live. We're also available as a podcast. You can find us on your favorite podcasting app over on Spotify, on Apple, or wherever you download your podcast from. Just search for The Unspoken Truth, and you can always have a little bit of that in your ears, which is a lot of fun. We're also over on Telegram, Rumble, and Twitter as well. And today's show, ladies and gentlemen, is brought to you by you. In this crazy, uncertain world, we all need a way to protect and insulate ourselves from the outside forces that we simply cannot control. I'm a news junkie, and after a lifetime of constantly immersing myself in the darkness and the despair that engulfs the world, the path to shield myself and my family has become crystal clear. I want to invite you to come and join me in the Unspoken Truth community, where I'll show you how I protect my family from this crazy world. You'll get access to 3 masterclasses worth over $1,000, as well as our live events, training, and community of truthers just like you. Come on over to the unspokentruth.com.au and join us for just 50 cents a day. What are you waiting for? Get started now at the unspokentruth.com.au. Well, Laura, I wanted to kind of bring the show to a close, but just take the opportunity here in the last part of the show here. We've got about 20 minutes left, if you like, and just to get your kind of final thoughts about what somebody could do from a practical perspective to actually help themselves. If they're struggling with their mindset and they can't quite get across the line to achieve the goals that they're looking to achieve, have you got a couple of tips that you can share with people to help them out?
Yeah, when I first got into wanting to learn about how the human condition was, and I was obsessed with success. I was like, well, how is it that 2% or 1% of the world is super success and everyone else is blue collar or poverty level, right?
What am I doing wrong, for heaven's sake?
Right. And so I just literally started reading books. I started off with Think and Grow Rich, and it just blew me on for there. So I would literally say, listen to podcasts. Personal development is a wonderful way to get information from leaders who know the information and can share it with you. Lewis Howe is amazing when it comes to mindset. He's based in America. He came from nothing, built up this massive following. He went on the Ellen Show, and he's now working with Jay Shetty and so forth. So Lewis Howe, absolutely look him up. You can listen to all the great mindset tips, but literally success is a learnt thing. It comes from the mind. And when we can adopt a positive mindset, our energy lifts, our whole world improves. And guys, I just want to leave you with this. You are special, and you have been brought to this world for a reason. Okay, it doesn't matter what that reason is. It's not even business related. There is a reason why you are here. So don't live life on someone else's terms. Live life on your terms. Decide how you want your life to look like and be like. And at the end of the day, you can create it. Doesn't matter how. Just know that you have the ability. It's your mind. You can create it in your mind. Start asking better questions. How did I become a successful blah? And watch the universe send you the answers. Let me promise you that. You are special. Go out and live your life. You're deserving of it. Why not? Just go.
100% right. Yeah, 100% right. I'm gonna ask you a question, but I'm gonna give you some time to think about the answer, because it's a deep question, right? And here we are, 50 minutes into the podcast, and this is the deep part. So thanks for joining us, ladies and gentlemen, and sticking around here for a little while. To your point, you've got to live life on your terms, but you've also got to come to a little bit of peace with yourself, and you have to discover what life actually means to you. And in some ways, it's that ever existential question that exists for human beings, like, what is the meaning of life? Is this all random? Is it random that 8,200 people from 13 generations brought me to here? Yes, that's random. Absolutely it is. but you're here to make the most of an opportunity while you're here, and you've been selected to do something, and you've got to make peace with what that is. And I discovered this a little while ago in my entrepreneurial journey, because you're always chasing the next business, you're chasing the next client, you're chasing the next paycheck, and there's never enough. I always want, what is it that I'm doing? And when I recognized it was never enough, what I realized, what I'm doing is I'm creating. My purpose is as a creator. And you can actually, if you think deeply on this, if you take the time to meditate on this particular point, you will discover that the only reason that anybody here is to create. Whether you create a family with little babies and other humans running around, or you create massive wealth and you create jobs, whether you create beautiful art, beautiful music, beautiful something, you're here to create. And what you're doing is you're contributing to the collective. When you and I get together and we record a show like this, we're creating content. And content is enhancing the collective, and it's going to the betterment of humanity. So I believe the meaning of life is not much deeper than to create. You can look for much deeper philosophical things and religious things or spiritual things in there for sure as well. But actually, I think all of that can be summed up by creation as well. Because if you commit your life, or you commit your purpose to service of God, or service of country, or service of king or queen, or whatever you are committing your life to, it's still a version of creation. So have you thought deeply on that, or meditated on that?
Yes. And I'm going to go to this. This just popped up in my mind. I had this conversation just yesterday with a friend. He was asking me, I listened to this podcast and they were talking about what your purpose is, right? And this is perfect, pretty much in alignment with what you're talking about, Rob. So he said, how do I find my purpose? There's so much to think about, and I just have no idea what my purpose is. And there was like a frustration there, and like I should already know it sort of a thing, because being in the 40s years old,
you should have figured it out.
Right. And I'm like, it's okay, calm down. This is what I think it is, and it's very simple, because I think there's so many gurus out there that try and say, oh, you need your purpose and a business plan, or whatever it is. Come here, we'll charge you $10,000 and blah, 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 all the things. But it's at the core of it, it's all very basic. And so I was like, okay, how I found my first business, it wasn't because I wanted to start a business. It was literally because I loved to perform. I loved to entertain. I loved to act. And then I decided that kids loved me. Well, it's not that I decided. I realized kids loved me. So when I wore a fairy dress and I performed, kids just lit up like a Christmas tree, which then lit me up even more. And there's great energy. And at the core and essence of me performing to kids dressed as a fairy, what I'm doing is bringing joy and happiness to people. And so very quickly I realized that, okay, what is my purpose? Oh, well, I just love performing to kids. And then I built a huge fairy kids entertainment revolving around what I love to do. And so really quickly I realized, if you just follow the joy and happiness in your life, or what lights you up, if you just follow the joy and the love in life, whatever you're meant to do is going to show up in your world. Because where I'm sitting here as a 39-year-old, I built a business. I'm coming into my 12th year of being in business, no business degree. I just followed the joy and happiness in my life, and the things that I needed to do showed up. I've brought so much happiness to children all around Australia and in America over the past 12 years, because I just followed the fun. And now I help women become leaders. I inspire them to step into their leadership role through the Australian International Pageant. And I didn't say I want to own a pageant 12 years ago. I didn't say I really want to inspire women. How that became was because in my journey through business, I then decided to grow my mind and grow my business and learn personal development. And in personal development, I read a book. Here you go. Here was the thing. I read a book that said, to be truly successful, not only do you have to build a business and make funds, but you also have to give back 10% of your earnings to the world in order to help and serve. So then I was like, here's the question I asked. how do I give back? Sure, I can give 10% to a non-for-profit, but no. How do I truly make everlasting change, right? And so then I asked the question and found the answer. My answer was, I really love kids and I want to help kids. And there's 1 billion kids living in poverty in the world. And that is the project that I want to create. So what did I do? I created a book that generates funds that goes to help kids in poverty to a non-for-profit of my choice. So here's the thing. What I didn't sit here one day and go, I need to do this and find my purpose and build a business. And I had no idea I was going to be in business when I was a kid. No idea. I didn't even have a drive and urge to do that. I always just followed my enjoyment, asked questions, and had the answer come. And absolutely, I have failed so many times along that journey. But what I've done is consistently gone forward in that path, in that direction. And then the minute that I had a barrier and I had to kind of go around that little bit, and I've just learned the lessons along the way. So at the end of it, how do you find your purpose? Follow the joy and love in your life. You'll find it.
Whatever you do, don't overcomplicate it. Like it sounds, when you hear somebody's journey, like you tell your journey and you think, man, that sounds like a lot. You have to have this, you have to have that. There's like 1,000 things that you had to do, but you never had any of those. You started with one.
Just show up.
Yeah, and don't let the start stop you. Don't let it do that. And lean into the things that bring you the most joy. It's a bit cliche. People say, do what you're passionate about and you'll never work a day in your life. Piss off, man. Like I've got to put food on the table and feed my family and do all of those things. How do you do something like that? It's very hard to do that.
Get a job until you find it.
Exactly. There it is. Just don't overcomplicate it. It's not more difficult than that as well. So, all right, Laura, as we round out the show here and finish it off, we're going to do lots of these, so we're going to get to explore various different avenues in there. If you haven't already subscribed to the show, please make sure you just have a look at the links down below in the description of this live, and you'll be able to connect with Laura, join the Inspire Greatness Within community. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that? Give that a little bit of a plug here at the end of the show so people can learn some more about that.
Rob, we just have so much fun in there. It's literally all information in order to help you inspire greatness from within. So I have so many speakers in there sharing their stories, sharing their tips and tricks. It's literally, we just want people to have a quality of life, and it's just a fun place. You can grow, you can connect with people all around. We have a lot of American people and Australian people in there, and we've got lives, we've got material, we've got polls. It's just a very fun place in an app, and it's all about inspiring greatness from within.
Fantastic. Yeah. That's awesome. Make sure you have a look in the show notes. You can connect with Laura, and make sure to head over to her website as well, and you can find all of her socials, the Insta and her face here, and that there's on the website. So nice and easy for everybody to find that. I always like to give the guest the final word for the show. Have you got a final bit of wisdom to maybe break through that barrier of success and failure? Have you got a final thought for us?
Yeah.
I'll give you some thinking music as we have the final thought. Here we go. It is.
Just action. Follow the fun.
There it is.
Up. Follow the fun and stand up and go do it.
What a great way to close out the show. Thanks for joining me, Laura. I will see you next time. Bye for now.
See you guys. Bye.
See you, everyone.